If you want to guarantee, that you will face the most brutal, just ruthless competition in the world, choose a path that absolutely anyone can take.
Oh, absolutely.
But, I mean, if you want to bypass the line entirely, you have to aim so incredibly high that there is literally no one left to compete with.
Right. It's a completely different game.
It really is. Welcome back to another deep dive. Today, we're looking at a really fascinating 2023 essay titled "The Higher the Aspiration, the Wider the Path." It's written by Swifting.
And we should mention we're exploring the translation edited by Kanyuan.
Right, exactly. Okay, let's unpack this, because our mission today is to explore a framework that, well, it kind of completely flips how we understand human ambition, the hidden economics behind our daily choices.
And we have to give a fair warning here.
Oh, yeah. We're going to take a deeply unexpected pivot at the end into the ultimate meaning of life itself. So stick around for that.
Yeah, it gets intense. But we're starting with a stark, almost uncomfortably mathematical paradox, I guess you could call it, about how competition actually functions.
So lay out that foundational rule for us.
Right. So the foundational rule the author establishes right out of the gate is, well, it's an inverse relationship between the ease of a task and the intensity of the competition surrounding it.
Okay, meaning?
Meaning the essay argues that in arenas where competition is fierce, the baseline conditions for human survival become, fundamentally harsher. Interpersonal relationships become inherently tense.
Because everyone is stressed out.
Exactly. And simply acquiring the basic resources you need to stay alive becomes this brutal, exhausting endeavor.
Because you're basically fighting everyone else for the exact same scraps, right?
Right, precisely. The simpler and easier the pathway is to obtain survival resources, the more intense the competition inevitably becomes. I mean, think of it as a law of physics applied to human effort.
A law of physics. I like that.
Yeah, if a job is something that essentially any able-bodied person can do, it becomes highly sought after simply because of its universal accessibility. Therefore, the competition is just a bloodbath.
Right.
But if a job requires skills that only, say, 1 in 10 people possess, the competition instantly drops. And if you scale that up...
To like 1 in a million.
Yeah, 1 in 100, 1,000, a million, or even a billion people. If only they can do it, the competition virtually disappears. There is almost no one left to compete with.
And the essay gives these incredibly vivid, really contrasting examples that cement this idea. The author points out that a surface coal mining company looking for manual miners is going to be absolutely flooded with applicants.
Because it's accessible labor.
Exactly. But then he says, imagine a hypothetical Mariana Trench exploration company.
Oh, that's such a great comparison.
Right. Because of the extreme, just incomprehensible technical difficulty and the danger of exploring the deepest, darkest part of the ocean, that company would struggle to find even a handful of suitable candidates on the entire planet.
What's fascinating here is how the author scales this concept up to the highest possible global stakes, to prove the point.
Oh, the Elon Musk example.
Yeah. The text contrasts a standard government unit hiring like 10 civil servants, which might attract tens of thousands of applicants, creating this massive bottleneck.
Thousands of people for 10 jobs.
Right. And he contrasts that with a hypothetical scenario involving Elon Musk. The author writes that if Elon Musk needed to recruit someone specifically capable of controlling the global nuclear weapons button,
Right.
like to actively prevent nuclear-armed countries from launching.
Which is terrifying, by the way.
Completely. But he says almost no one in the world would be qualified for that staggering level of technical, psychological, and geopolitical responsibility.
It's a wild image. I mean, but the underlying logic makes perfect sense. It's like the difference between waiting in line for a general admission concert ticket with 50,000 other people versus, just walking right past security through the backstage door without a ticket.
Because you're the talent.
Well, because you are the absolute only person on Earth who knows how to tune the lead singer's highly specific, temperamental guitar. If you are that one person, the concept of a line doesn't even exist for you.
Exactly. You bypass the line entirely because you possess a highly specialized utility that the market desperately needs, but just cannot find anywhere else.
Okay, I buy the math on this, but I have to push back a little bit on behalf of the listener here.
Sure.
Because this feels incredibly elitist on the surface.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds almost like the author is saying that if you aren't Elon Musk or a Mariana Trench explorer, you're just a generic cog in the machine.
Yeah.
Is this dynamic just about raw, innate talent?
Like a genetic lottery.
Yeah, exactly. Like you either won the genetic lottery or you didn't. Or
Yeah.
is he, I don't know, dismissing the value of everyday labor?
It is a vital question, and the author actually anticipates this tension. He strongly suggests this is not about a genetic lottery at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it is entirely about the conscious, very difficult choices we make over the course of our lives. This isn't an abstract theory about inherent human worth, right? It is a mechanical observation about the laws of supply and demand applied to human skill.
Oh, I see.
And he grounds this not in theory, but in a very specific on-the-ground experience he had.
Right, the Herrera anecdote. So the author takes us back to the year 1997. He is in the labor market in Herrera looking to hire people for various ventures.
Right.
And he goes to the market specifically looking for a male worker to do some basic flour work and a female worker to handle laundry, cleaning, and hygiene.
Just general household stuff.
Yeah. And the scene he describes as absolute chaos. He writes that when his car arrived at the market, before he could even get his foot out the door, a massive crowd of people completely surrounded the vehicle.
Wow.
It's an overwhelming multitude of people desperate to do this basic household work.
It is the surface coal mining example brought to vivid physical life. Zero barrier to entry equals maximum competition.
And he notes that later, when he went back to that exact same market to recruit general shop assistants, the situation was identical, an absolute mob.
But then it changes.
Right, here's where it gets really interesting, because his business ventures start to require slightly more specific skills. He decides to open a bar, and he needs a bartender.
And what happens?
The crowd vanishes. He notes that there were very few suitable candidates who actually knew how to tend bar.
The barrier to entry raised just a fraction of an inch, and the competition plummeted proportionally.
Then it gets even more extreme. Later on, he opens a nightclub. And for a nightclub, you obviously need a DJ.
Of course.
So he looks around the market, and he literally cannot find a single qualified DJ mixer. The skill was simply too specialized for that specific labor pool at that specific time.
Right.
And he actually notes, and I thought this was a bizarre detail, that because he couldn't find a DJ mixer, he had to settle for hiring a GJ mixer instead.
Yes, the GJ mixer comment. It reads like a joke, honestly, about settling for a knockoff. Essentially, he couldn't find an actual disc jockey, someone with the artistic and technical skill to read a room and mix tracks seamlessly. So he just had to find some random guy to stand in the booth and clumsily press play.
Right, just a purely mechanical substitute.
Exactly, because the specialized artistic skills simply didn't exist in that environment. And from this entire series of events in Herrera, the author extracts what he calls a small secret.
Which is?
Well, if you want to find a position in society that offers low competition but high income, you fundamentally must possess special talents. You must be distinctly different from the masses.
Distinctly different.
Yeah. The essay explicitly states that without putting in the massive effort and undergoing rigorous training during our upbringing, we are essentially doomed to just compete with the massive crowds for our basic daily livelihood.
Okay, but acquiring those special talents isn't free.
No, not at all.
We have to buy them. And the currency we use to buy them is time. The text pivots here from the macro level of global job markets right down to the micro level of how you literally spend the ticking hours of your day.
This is a brilliant structural shift in the essay, really. The author introduces the ultimate, undeniable equalizer, which is time. Everyone, regardless of their background, their wealth, or their location, has exactly 24 hours a day.
Right.
And the essay argues that how we choose to allocate those 24 hours, where we invest our daily energy, is the major determining factor in our lifelong trajectory.
The essay lays out this fascinating menu of job types. Shining shoes, repairing shoes, herding sheep, farming, being a police officer, a delivery person, a teacher, a soldier, all the way up to an engineer, a professor, an entrepreneur, or a doctor.
But notice how he categorizes them.
Exactly. He doesn't categorize them by prestige or salary. He categorizes them by their timeline of return on investment.
He measures the value of work by how long you have to wait to get paid.
Yeah.
The author points out that the faster the income arrives, the simpler and more accessible the job is. And naturally, as we establish with the Herrera anecdote, that means anyone can do it.
Making the competition intensely fierce.
Right, and the wages proportionally low.
So if you want income on the exact same day, you can go shine shoes on the street. Instant return, massive competition.
Yep.
But if you are willing to wait for the same month to get your income, you can work as a laborer or a teacher or a civil servant. And if you can wait for the same season, so a few months of delayed gratification, you can go into farming or gardening.
Contrast those timelines with the long-term investments, like To become a professor, an engineer, or a successful entrepreneur, you cannot expect same day, same month, or even same season returns.
Well, definitely not.
These paths require a massive upfront investment of your 24 hours, extreme effort, and continuous unrewarded investment for years before you see any return at all.
Years of just grinding.
Exactly. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the underlying logic is that the longer the investment period, the fewer competitors you will face at the end of that road, simply because most people cannot or will not wait that long.
Oh, wait, I have to jump in here. Is it entirely fair to frame this as people just choosing not to wait?
What do you mean?
Well, the author outlines what he calls a societal tragedy here, saying people, quote, give up on long-term investment to seek quick profits. I have to challenge this. Doesn't the very real crushing pressure of survival actually force people into these quick profit roles?
That's a very fair point.
Right. If you need to feed your family today, you have to go shine shoes today.
Mhm.
It's not necessarily a lack of ambition. It's just the raw physics of poverty and necessity.
That is a deeply valid critique of the framework, and to the author's credit, the text does acknowledge this tension.
It does.
Yeah, the author specifically cites the pressure of survival as the primary driving force behind this dynamic. He isn't necessarily blaming the individual laborer, he is exposing the mechanism of the trap itself.
Oh, I see. The trap.
Right. The tragedy is that this survival pressure forces a societal decrease in outstanding elites and a massive compounding increase in ordinary competitors fighting over the same-day returns.
It's a vicious cycle. The more people need same-day income, the more crowded that market gets, which drives the value of that labor down, which keeps them trapped needing same-day income.
Exactly. Which brings us to the core difficulty of the essay's premise.
Ah.
Overcoming that intense survival pressure to focus on a long-term delayed return goal requires a level of focus, environmental control, and sheer willpower that is incredibly rare.
Rare is an understatement.
True. And to illustrate just how monumental an effort it takes to break out of that quick profit cycle, the essay turns to a famous historical example.
The story of Mencius. Specifically, the famous anecdote of Mencius's mother moving 3 times.
Right.
For anyone who hasn't heard this story, it's a classic Chinese historical tale about a mother who relocated her family's home 3 separate times solely to curate the perfect environment for her son's upbringing.
It's a great story.
It really is. So first, they lived near a cemetery, and the young boy started imitating the funeral rituals and the professional mourners. Seeing this, the mother moved them near a bustling market.
But that had its own issues.
Right, because then he started imitating the merchants, the haggling, and the focus on immediate daily profit. Finally, she moved them next to a school, and the boy began imitating the scholars, studying texts, and observing court etiquette.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture the author is painting, he asks a direct question. Why did Mencius's mother go through the immense, exhausting trouble of moving 3 times in an ancient era where moving was incredibly difficult?
Yeah, why do all that?
The author's answer is that it was entirely for the sake of cultivating her son's aspiration. She recognized that the environment dictates the timeline of your investments.
Wow, that's powerful.
Right. The market breeds a desire for same-day returns. The school breeds an environment for lifelong investment. And the text notes that because of this cultivated high aspiration, Mencius grew up to become a great thinker whose legacy has endured for millennia.
But the essay is brutally honest about the reality of holding a high aspiration. I mean, it's not just vision boarding and daydreaming. There is a massive, heavy cost attached to aiming high.
It demands an incredible toll. The text explicitly details what a high aspiration actually requires of a person. The author states that the higher the aspiration, the more one must endure long-term, solitary struggles.
Solitary, that's the key word, isn't it?
That word is key. Solitary. By aiming high and delaying your returns for years or decades, you are intentionally removing yourself from the massive crowds waiting for their same-day payouts. You are fundamentally alone.
He also stresses that you have to undergo rigorous training. And here is the psychological hurdle. You have to actively, constantly withstand temptations.
Yeah, he lists a few specific ones.
Right. He specifically lists the temptations of money, power, fame, and beauty. You have to persevere in focusing all your mind and spirit on your long-term ideals, and you cannot be hasty for quick success.
The author is absolute on this point. Those who are hasty for quick success will never become outstanding figures.
So what does this all mean for us? If I try to visualize what the author is actually asking of the reader here, it's like, it's like planting a seed for a massive oak tree.
Okay, I like where this is going.
You plant this seed in the ground, knowing full well that you might not get to sit in its shade for 30 years.
Mm.
And while you're waiting, while you are doing the solitary, unglamorous work of watering this invisible seed in the dirt, the seasons are going to change.
You're going to get cold.
Exactly. You are going to get cold, and you are going to have to constantly fight the overwhelming, very logical urge to just dig up that seed, chop up whatever meager roots have formed, and use them as firewood today, just to stay warm right now.
That is a phenomenal analogy for the tension the essay describes. The firewood is the same-day income. It solves an immediate problem but leaves you with nothing tomorrow.
Right.
The oak tree is the lifelong aspiration. And up to this exact point, the essay has functioned as a meticulous, practical guide on why you must plant the oak tree.
Yes.
It's an economic masterclass on how to free yourself from the crowded, brutal competition of the daily labor market. But then,
yeah.
just when the author has you entirely convinced that you need to endure the solitary struggle to become a professor or a doctor or an elite entrepreneur to avoid the misery of the crowded market, he pauses the narrative.
He really does.
He looks you in the eye and completely pulls the rug out from under his own economic premise.
I'm still recovering from this pivot, honestly.
Yeah.
It is such a jarring, spectacular shift in tone. The author introduces what I can only describe as the ultimate mortality equalizer.
That's a good way to put it.
He looks back at all those jobs he listed earlier. The shoe shiner, the sheep herder, the farmer, but crucially, also the wealthy financier, the elite doctor, the highly respected professor.
Right, the long-term investment folks.
Yeah. And he states, with stark bluntness, that regardless of which path you chose, regardless of whether you took the same-day income or the 50-year long-term investment, well, the ultimate destination is exactly the same.
Death. The language he uses in this section is incredibly sobering. The text notes that living safely to the age of 70 or 80 is considered a good, successful run. But ultimately, all of this tossing around in life, all this fierce competing and meticulous investing and solitary struggling, just ends in one unavoidable outcome.
Becoming a handful of ashes in a bone ash box.
Exactly. Becoming a handful of ashes in a bone ash box.
After reading 3/4 of an essay about optimizing your career path and escaping the Herrera labor market, hitting that sentence is like walking face first into a brick wall.
It really is.
Wait, so whether I'm the guy shining shoes on the street or the billionaire tech CEO launching rockets, the result is identical. The author even acknowledges how depressing this is.
He does, yeah.
He says that thinking of life's brevity and thinking of such an end completely dashes all hopes. If it all ends in a box of ashes, what on earth was the point of enduring the solitary struggle?
Right.
What was the point of moving 3 times like Mencius's mother if the genius philosopher ends up in the exact same ash box as the merchant?
This raises an important question. What, then, is the highest possible aspiration? If earthly careers, no matter how elite, specialized, or uncrowded, all hit a hard, non-negotiable stop at mortality, then the true highest aspiration in life cannot simply be becoming an entrepreneur or a great thinker.
So where did he go with this?
The author brings us to his ultimate, transcendent conclusion. Because earthly careers end in ashes, the highest aspiration a human being can hold is to become a celestial being.
A celestial being.
Yes.
I mean, the first time I read this, I literally had to stop and reread the paragraph because the whiplash is so intense.
Yeah.
We went from how to understand supply and demand curves in 1997 to escaping human mortality entirely.
That's a huge leap.
How does he make that leap?
I know this sounds like a massive, unearned leap from a local labor market to literal spiritual transcendence, but, well, if you look at it strictly through the lens of the economic framework the author just built, it makes a bizarre, flawless kind of logic.
Follow me through that, because I'm still stuck on the ash box.
Okay, remember the foundational rule. The higher the aspiration, the wider the path, because there is less competition.
Right.
If the ultimate goal is to find a path with zero competition, you have to look at the biggest bottleneck of all. Death is the ultimate crowded market.
Oh, wow.
Every human being who has ever lived is forced into that exact same funnel. So what is a higher aspiration than mastering a worldly skill to escape the labor market, transcending the physical world itself?
Escaping the final bottleneck.
Exactly. When he says celestial being, he's tapping into an Eastern philosophical concept of transcending worldly attachments and anxieties. It's not necessarily about sprouting wings. It's about reaching a state of existence where you aren't bound by the terror of the bone ash box.
Okay, that makes more sense.
By aiming to become a celestial being, the author claims one can not only enjoy the joys of this current life to the fullest, but also secure a wonderful future that actually extends beyond mortality.
It fundamentally redefines everything we just read.
Compl-
The solitary struggle, the rigorous training, the resistance to the temptations of money, power, fame, and beauty. I mean, at first we thought those were just practical instructions on how to become a successful, wealthy professional.
Right, career advice.
But by the final paragraph, we realize those are actually the strict requirements for spiritual transcendence. He tricked us into reading a spiritual manifesto disguised as career advice.
Exactly. It beautifully synthesizes the entire journey. We started by looking at the mechanics of how to avoid the crowded, desperate scramble of fast money jobs.
Yeah.
We moved into understanding the immense psychological cost of the rigorous, solitary struggle required for long-term skill building. And then we arrived at the ultimate realization that all earthly ambitions, no matter how grand or exclusive, hit a hard stop at the grave.
How true.
Therefore, the only logical conclusion for the truly ambitious, according to the author's own math, is to aim beyond mortality altogether.
It is a phenomenal amount of layered thinking to process.
Mm.
The essay ends with a final lingering question that the author poses directly to the reader, and I want to echo it right now directly to you listening to this. Do you want to become a celestial being?
It forces you to completely reevaluate the timeline of your own daily investments. Are you investing your 24 hours for the day, for the month, for a lifetime, or for eternity?
It completely reframes how you look at the concept of ambition itself.
Yeah.
If the ultimate destination at the absolute end of the road is exactly the same for every single person, just a handful of ashes in a box, maybe the literal scale of our earthly ambitions doesn't actually matter in the end.
That's a really interesting point.
Right. Maybe the point isn't about whether you end up as a CEO or a shoe shiner. Maybe it's the solitary struggle itself, the internal discipline you learn, the temptations you successfully resist, the deep focus you maintain in the face of survival pressure.
Yeah, the process.
Exactly, the process. Maybe that is what actually transforms you into something more, regardless of what job title is printed on your earthly business card.
A profoundly fascinating perspective to consider as you go about your day.
Truly. Thank you for joining us on this incredibly expansive journey today. We love taking these deep dives with you, exploring these sources, and seeing where the logic leads us. Until next time, keep questioning the path you're on, and keep aiming high. Take care.
Thank you for listening.